was a bit of a touchy moment when I wait for that bar to go right across. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Good. We are now live. So hello and welcome everybody. Sorry we missed out last week, but as you probably saw on the news, it was torrential weather, tornadoes, flooding, particularly on the Costa del Sol last week. It was our turn. First time we had the red alert in Andalusia. So lives were saved, no real issues, just a few roofs were lost, but we can cope with that. So it's nice to be back with you today, and I'm Aurora Dawn, your host. And in the hot seat today, we have Rajiv Nayak. Now, talking about red alerts, we were just talking before we came online about the importance of these mobile phone alerts and that sort of flight or fright cortisol feeling that we get through. And I'm sure we'll come back to that in a moment. But welcome, Rajiv.
Thank you very much, Dawn. And thank you for inviting me for this amazing live stream. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of fun.
I'm sure we will. We don't get a huge amount of questions, if any, but what we do get is comments like, oh, you're my guilty pleasure. I'm having a cup of tea, listening to another interesting interview. And then we might get some questions afterwards. And usually it's like, oh, I didn't know I could be coached on a subject like that. Or, oh, I've never heard of a divorce coach, very specific niche market. So I
Mhm.
never know what's going to come up. But my VA, Gillian, will be on the mobile and keep us posted. So let me just set the scene for you, Rajiv, because I said to you no preparation was required. And I don't know if you've listened to any of these weekly little podcasts, I suppose, for want of a better word. But it's called Ask Us Anything About Accreditation. And so they are aimed at people who are interested in working with a coach and or mentor to achieve their personal and or professional goals. Because I've been saying, well, there's not long before this year closes, but it's never too late to complete your 2024 goals. Because
Mhm.
let's face it, I think in about 6 weeks or so, we're going to be setting 2025 year resolutions and goals. So if you've got something waiting, then, coaches and mentors are ideally placed to support you with that. Or maybe you're training to become a coach and or mentor, and you want to know how do you go about it. You may be like us, master practitioners, and thinking, well, what is this accreditation? It's an unregulated market. It's passed me by. Do I really need it? And I'm always saying it's one of those things that you don't know you need until you need it. Or maybe you're a training provider and you're wondering, how are you going to improve your January intake with international students? Well, accreditation is one of those key differentiators that the public are increasingly asking for. It's a very crowded, noisy digital space. So anything at all, like being properly trained, being qualified, being independently accredited, having a client-facing signature program, a book, a masterclass, something, and obviously being insured if your country offers insurance, are the key differentiators that people who are doing their due diligence are looking for. So that's kind of the background, Rajiv. So let me introduce you properly.
Sure.
Rajiv is our MD for the Alpha Mastermind Mentoring Group. We meet on a monthly basis. We've got a great international team. We cover some really good strategic stuff to help us grow our businesses. And I'm sure you're always interested in meeting potential new members. I think of you as a serial entrepreneur. You've got lots of businesses, and like me,
Yeah.
you're interested in the holistic health business, and you work in the emotional intelligence field. Anything I missed, Rajiv?
Yeah. So in terms of the businesses, you said that I have several businesses. So just give a little short introduction about the businesses that I have. So apart from the Alpha Group, the work I do in the Alpha Group, I also have a consulting business, which is into business strategy and marketing strategy consulting. It is related to the Alpha Group in some ways, but I do a lot of work in one-on-one business strategy and marketing strategy consulting, especially with small businesses, small and medium businesses, the ones we call as SMEs. And this work actually happens all over the UK, Europe, and Eastern Europe. So in the month of January, in fact, I'm going to Uzbekistan. I'm really looking forward to that trip to Tashkent, where I'm actually helping a business now to set up their, launch their operations in the country of Uzbekistan. I speak Russian and Ukrainian for those of you who are wondering, for your viewers who are wondering how can I manage in a country like Uzbekistan? Because of many years of living in Ukraine, and because by virtue of the fact that I got married to a very beautiful Ukrainian woman, I can speak these languages. So I'm quite well versed with dealing with clients in that part of the world. Apart from the consulting work, as you rightly mentioned, my coaching actually is mostly targeted at leaders and executives that are looking to improve their emotional intelligence. And we use a specific methodology which is called as positive intelligence. The positive intelligence coaching is a technique where we use neuroscience-based tools to help individuals become aware of unconscious and automatic um, thoughts and emotions which come from our survival brain. And using these tools, we help clients to switch in real time from the survival brain to the positive brain. And by doing so, use the capacities of our positive brain more. The positive brain is basically our prefrontal cortex, and this is the part of the brain where um, all of our so-called executive functions lie. So, things like being more focused, feeling calm and composed, even in stressful situations, being more empathetic towards yourself and others, compassion towards, others and the community in general, being more, forward-sighted, being more clear-headed. All of these are capacities which are very essential for leaders in today's world, and all of these capacities lie in our positive brain. So that's what the positive intelligence program and training helps people in achieving. They're able to quieten some of that activity in the survival brain, which keeps us stressed, which keeps us anxious, which leads to burnout, which keeps us staying in negative emotions, and it helps us access more of those more positive capacities which we have. So that's what I do in coaching. My coaching target audience or clientele is usually leaders, executives, or business owners, mainly also in small and medium businesses across UK, Europe, and Eastern Europe. And you mentioned about wellness. That's an area which I really am passionate about, just like yourself. So I spoke about mental wellness with the coaching that I do. We also have business where we focus on physical wellness, and that is through a range of innovative healthcare supplements. And that's a separate business which I have called as BioBalance Healthcare. And it's actually in the process of getting launched in this quarter, in fact. So you will see a lot of action from BioBalance on social media, et cetera, going forward in 2025. So that's the whole thing which I do. I wear various caps at different times, but I try to do things which I'm passionate about, and try to find the time to do everything.
Mm. And that's really interesting because it's just made me think about, when we're coaching and mentoring people, one of the excuses that they come up with is procrastination around, I don't have enough
Yeah,
time. And if you think about you living in Ukraine a lot of the
yeah,
time, and with what
yeah,
Ukraine has been going through for this last couple of years, and yet you're still opening up businesses and
yeah,
traveling internationally and supporting others. So it's a mindset. Where there's a
yeah,
will, there's a
absolutely.
way, you can do things. And you've actually used COVID and the war situation to good
Yeah,
effect to
yeah,
spend time creating your empire. So well done.
yeah,
And that's
yeah,
reflected in the Alpha group as well. I don't think any of us in your group are in their own country, which makes it
yeah.
really quite dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that fact about what we have in the Alpha group, because the collective wisdom that we have in that group is phenomenal, isn't it? It opens up
Mm.
so many interesting ideas, and we each of us has such diverse experience in different industries, different countries, in different cultures and communities. We bring in so much of wisdom, which helps all of us find interesting ideas. And I looking forward to growing that group and getting more people to join us in those discussions.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. And I think the mastermind, part two of our sessions, the mastermind group, means that we're developing really caring, sharing skills,
Yeah.
not just the networking, but
Yeah.
putting a hat on that says, how can I help this other person? And it
Yeah.
turns out that actually a lot of the questions we need to ask ourselves and a lot of the
Yeah.
solutions that are brainstormed are relevant to all of us as well. So I really, really value that part of the session. Both sessions are
Yeah.
great, but really enjoy that.
Yeah.
So what do you do outside of work that makes your heart sing, Rajiv? What are you passionate about?
That's an interesting question. I practice a lot of mindfulness activities myself because of the intensity of the work that I do. I also travel a lot. As you mentioned, I travel a lot between UK and Ukraine. So I usually, in a quarter, I spend 2 months in the UK and 1 month in Ukraine. I also travel to other destinations where I have to meet business clients, etc. At times. For instance, in the month of January, I'm traveling to Uzbekistan and I'm traveling to India. So that's something I'm looking forward to, those travels. So because of the intensity of work and travel, I need to also take care of myself and my own mental state and mindset. I think it is a myth that people who do coaching or for example, psychologists or therapists who help others with their mental health don't have to take care of themselves. In fact, they have to do it even more. I would put it this way. And so I try to engage with activities that help me with my own mental health, which help me stay positive. For instance, I do a lot of positive intelligence exercises myself. These are exercises and activities which are like meditation, but different in many ways. I do a lot of reading. That's something which I'm really passionate about, reading on different topics. And I love being in nature, which is one of the reasons why I chose Chelmsford in Ukraine, sorry, in the UK when we moved there, because we have a very big park close to us. And there is so much of nature around UK. It's very similar to Ukraine in that way. We do a lot of nature walks and things like that. So that's another thing which I really
Grounded.
like. Yeah, and apart from that, staying connected with friends and family. My family is also spread out all over the world. My, close relatives, they are spread out all over the world. So I make it a point that we connect over Zoom. The digital technology has been such a boon. So I usually take the lead to set up, these monthly family calls. We are
Mhm.
going to have one this weekend, in fact, where we all get together on this call once a month and have a good time chatting up and getting to know what's going on in each other's lives. In fact, this is something which was also a gift which we got from COVID. In positive intelligence, one of the things which we talk about is how can you convert a seemingly negative situation or a challenge into an opportunity, right? So my business in UK and everything which I'm doing in the UK now, all of that actually came as an opportunity from the war in Ukraine. I mean, there have been obviously a lot of challenges that me and my family have had to go through due to the war. But if it was not for that, maybe I would have not thought of the business opportunities in the UK and so on and so forth. So it came as a byproduct of what happened here. Similarly, with COVID, while there were so many different challenges that my family had to go through, and like many other families due to COVID, it opened up the whole gamut of digital communication, right? We never used Zoom and all of these other platforms that much before COVID, but after that we have. And I think in the last few years, since COVID, we've got really closer as a family due to all of this communication, regular communication.
Yeah, that's lovely. I mean, I hear that's one of the things, another benefit of COVID is that people realize that they do need people.
Yeah,
And actually, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can make it smaller by jumping on a Zoom call. I had been using Zoom for 20 years because, excuse me, as an expat, it was the way
mm,
I connected with my UK clients all around the world. So
right.
I was used to that. But during COVID, we started as a family and friends would have pizza nights We'd all make
Right.
pizzas. We'd all sit down
Wow.
together and we would be talking while eating, just as if we were at a makeshift a pop-up restaurant. So yeah,
Wonderful.
uh, Zoom has made things a lot more relaxed. I think also, Rajiv, is to a certain extent, it's rubbed the edges off this desire to be perfect. So,
Yeah.
in a Zoom conference call, you might have a child walk across in the background or a cat
Yeah.
jump on your laptop or whatever. So it we know that people could be in their PJs,
Yeah.
in the lower half
Yeah.
of the screen and things like that. And I think it has helped people relax a lot more,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
business
it
especially.
has. Yeah, yeah, it has. It has. However, there are also studies which have shown that um, there is a flip side to it, and the flip side is that it has kind of removed the boundary between when you are at work and off work,
Mhm.
and people are there seems to be this 24 by 7 type of culture which seems to be getting in, especially in the corporate world, where people are expected to be online all the time. And
Yes.
that is affecting a lot of people's mental health and adding to stress and so on and so forth. So you need to be careful. It is a gift, but you need to be careful so that it doesn't become a curse.
Well, like everything, there's a pros and cons.
Yeah,
It could
yeah,
be something as
absolutely.
simple as coffee. One day you get a report saying coffee's good for you, the next day
Yeah,
it's not.
yeah.
It just depends on
Absolutely.
who's the author of the article. But I do remember because my son works in London and um, he he was getting up and being online at about 8 o'clock in the morning and sometimes till 2 in the morning because of
Yeah,
exactly what you've said.
yeah,
Bosses all around the world would just be able to
yeah,
expect to get hold of you. And whilst there was a report that said productivity went up by about
yeah,
23% with home workers, it was primarily, I think, because they were frightened to leave the computer.
yeah,
So they were
yeah,
working longer hours. And that's why the UK are putting a bill through
yeah,
that, work-life balance can't be unduly affected, and that actually there is a recourse for employees who feel that they're harassed by their employers.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, we need that safeguarding, and there's got to be a balance for everything. The reason I like that question about what makes your heart sing, what fills your heart with joy, great transpersonal coaching questions, is because as practitioners, you've already said, we can forget the value of looking after ourselves and
yeah,
being at our best to show up for our clients. And it does make people remember, actually, as much as I love coaching, as much as I love mentoring and helping and listening and guiding, actually you reach burnout very, very quickly if you don't look after
yeah,
yourself. So what do you do for joy? And is joy the same as contentment? And is joy the same as happiness? It just gets you starting thinking about these things.
yeah,
So, but most people, like you, will say getting outside in nature. It's
yeah,
what we all crave, really.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, in fact, I feel I don't get enough of it.
Hmm.
I don't get enough of nature. And in winters, it becomes a little more challenging than summers because of the shorter days. So
Yeah.
that's one thing which I don't like about. I do like winter, and I love snow, and I love Christmas, everything about Christmas, and so on and so forth. But the only thing which I don't like about the winters is the shorter days. So there are actually limitations to what you can do after work. So the park
Yeah.
gets dark, and you can't walk as much and so on and so forth. So I feel I don't get enough of nature
You have to get a head
as much as I
torch.
would like to. Yeah, yeah,
Because you
yeah,
you've proved as well as anybody else, where there's a will, there's a way.
yeah.
It's David's favorite time, actually. He loves Christmas because he loves chocolate and he feels he can
Mm,
eat chocolate guilt-free during Christmas time. But you're absolutely right. Getting out in nature, we don't do enough of it. So walking barefoot on the beach, so you feel earthed. I've got the mountains behind me. But
yeah,
I can go a whole week and think, well, where has my week gone? Why haven't I done my hike? Haven't been down to the beach to do any beach combing. And
yeah,
then I sort of berate myself thinking, well, you're your own boss.
yeah,
Why didn't you? Because we don't schedule self-care in the diary the way
yeah,
we do
yeah,
schedule everybody
yeah,
else. We have to make it
yeah.
happen. bit like vitamin C, isn't it? Your body can't
Absolutely.
make vitamin C. You have to actually take some action every single day to make these things
Absolutely.
happen.
Absolutely. And I think some form of self-coaching, I think, is very useful in this regard.
Yeah.
It's something where you just check in with yourself and maybe on a weekly basis at least, and try to understand are you feeling that sense of balance, right? A lot of my clients, one of the things which I've heard I mean, most commonly, especially after COVID, when I ask them, how do you feel? What is that feeling that you have? And that's a very common question I ask during my coaching sessions. A lot of my clients have recently been saying, I feel like there is something lacking. And when I ask them what is lacking, they say that that feeling of balance. Right? I feel that I'm off balance. In
Yeah.
fact, that was the inspiration behind the name of my healthcare startup. We called it BioBalance. Bio was
Uh,
for natural supplements, and balance was to help them bring back balance, because bringing that balance, bring back the balance is about both mental and physical attributes which you need to actually take care of. And so, yeah, so talking about that balance, it's important to ask ourselves the question, what is lacking? What's really lacking, and what can help you bring back that feeling of balance.
mm,
And it is an ongoing thing, right? It's not going to be like a destination where you say that, okay, I've reached this point where I feel very balanced, and I'm going to be there for my life. It's something which in life there are going to be ups and downs. Of
mhm,
course, for people like us living in Ukraine or living partly in Ukraine, um, there are other challenges which keep throwing us off balance. But even in any part of the world you live today, there are challenges. Right? Every person has their own battles. So we need to ask ourselves, what do we really need to find that balance, and do some self coaching with ourselves to say that, okay, this is my action plan for the week, for the next week. I'm going to do this a little bit less, and I'm going to find some time to do that little walk, 15, 20 minutes more for the walk, and try to find what needs to be done so that meet that plan, that action plan. One of the things which I found, for example, that I was not getting enough physical activity because going to the gym was becoming very challenging because of my constant travels. So I have now found an online trainer who does training, helps me with training on Zoom, actually. And I make sure that we do that at least twice a week, which was not happening earlier. I was not sticking to that. So all of us need some help in different ways. We should find what is that you need, each of us need to stick to our goals and find that balance. And again, it's also important to understand that balance means different things for different people. So what does balance mean to you?
yes, yeah. I mean, two things there that I was thinking of is I remember somebody's tip for the solopreneurs is you've come from a corporate background probably where you were used
Yeah,
to having meetings, have meetings with yourself, schedule a
yeah,
meeting at the beginning of the week. What is it you want to achieve? Set the intentions at the end of the week. What have you achieved, etc., etc.
yeah.
So nothing wrong with having a meeting with yourself. And the other thing was in terms of getting in touch with yourself. I love Brené's book, Atlas
Mm,
of the Heart, or is it Atlas of the Heart? Yes. I always want to say Atlas of the Emotions, but it's Atlas of the Heart. Because when somebody says they're not balanced, as you quite rightly said, we've got different interpretations. So, what does that mean?
mhm.
As a coach or a mentor, we've got our
Yeah,
own interpretation. The client's got
yeah,
theirs. How do we bridge that gap? And she's a vulnerability expert and did
yeah,
thousands and thousands of interviews. And she said predominantly people were either angry, happy, or sad. And
yeah.
yet there's about 87 different emotions. So we need
Mm,
to help our clients uh, determine the scale. So it could be I'm depressed or I'm actually just feeling blue and things like that.
yeah,
So I highly recommend people read that. But getting our clients to get in touch with the feeling that they are feeling, because quite
yeah,
often they don't know what they're feeling. So it's,
yeah,
on a
absolutely.
surface level, they could be happy, angry, or sad. But what is the feeling that you're feeling? Where are you
Yeah,
feeling it? and things like
Yeah,
that really helps them go that little bit deeper in understanding, you know, what they're going through right now. Because most of us are so busy, we're so
yeah,
desensitized,
yeah,
uh, we suppress things
yeah,
until, as you say,
yeah,
it implodes and they've got burnout.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think the
Mm,
society and our corporate culture today, it incentivizes, hiding those emotions in some ways,
yeah.
because of the whole stereotype that vulnerability is weakness and all of that. All of the stuff which Brené Brown has written in her book, which is an absolutely amazing book. I loved it myself. The book on vulnerability. Um, it was Dare to. Uh,
Dare to bear? No, I can't.
yeah,
Not
I forgot the name of the book, but the very famous book of Brené Brown on vulnerability. And so the corporate culture and our society kind of incentivizes that um, bottling up, right? Bottling up of our emotions
dare
and
to lead.
feelings, dare
Dare
to
to
lead,
lead.
yeah. And the bottling of emotions becomes a mental habit over time. And over
Mm,
time, we basically lose touch with our feelings and emotions. So a lot of people actually lose touch with their feelings and emotions altogether. And often they feel this sense of confusion because there are so many emotions that seem to be coming up, but they are not able to identify exactly what's happening. And that's the
mm,
source of a lot of our stress because we don't know what's happening in our head. A lot of
mm,
clients actually say that I have this fog or I have so much of confusion that I don't know what exactly I'm supposed to do. And then, clearing that fog is one of the important things that coaches also have to do at times to help
mm.
the client move forward.
Mm. And that's where your health business, BioBalance, comes in very nicely because when you've got a client who
Yeah,
is perhaps of a menopausal age and
yeah,
they've got brain fog, it could be sorted out very easily sometimes with things like borage oil or any other
yeah,
supplement that's going to help balance their hormones.
yeah,
But confusion and brain fog is disassociation with
yeah,
themselves. And maybe it's a bit of a health check that they need to get back on track and feel
absolutely.
like me again, whatever that is for them. I'm just conscious of the time, Rajiv.
Yeah,
So let me check my phone to see if there's anything from Gillian. Okay. How do you balance coaching and dealing with your own emotions at a time like I think the question is going through a time like you are in Kyiv, Ukraine with issues. How do you balance working with somebody else with what you're going through? We kind of touched on that, but
yeah. I
um,
think that's where exactly that self-coaching and being aware of your own emotions, right, comes in. Emotional intelligence, if we talk about the five pillars of emotional intelligence, the number one the number one pillar is self-awareness, and the number two is self-regulation. So as a coach, I have to constantly watch not only the emotions of my client, but I also have to watch my own emotions. So I am actually, at the same time, I am being a coach and I'm being somebody who's watching me.
mm,
So, and somebody who's actually constantly guiding me and saying that, okay, this is probably something which you have to regulate. And that's the uh, that's the emotional intelligence which all coaches, in fact, have to work on, because while we are working with clients, it is very, very important that we work on our own emotional states, because if we are emotionally charged, if our survival brain gets triggered while we are working with the emotions of the client, it is unlikely that we would be able to help them that much.
mm,
In the neuroscience of positive intelligence, we also talk about something called as mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are basically the neurons in our brain which help us feel the other person's emotion. So while it is very helpful in feeling the other person's emotion and being empathetic. That's the reason why we have the mirror neurons in the first place, because from the earliest human beings, our ancestors who used to live in tribes, these mirror neurons were actually created so that in our brain, so that we connect with people and become a part of of that tribe, right? Because being with tribes was essential for human survival. And so that's a function of the mirror neurons. And the mirror neurons are extremely helpful for us to feel empathetic to the client, be sensitive to their needs, and so on and so forth. But it is also counterproductive if you let the mirror neurons get triggered by the emotions of your client. So you
Mm.
need to actually constantly be conscious of your emotions as you are, going through the coaching session. That's very, very important. I think a very important attribute of being a coach. And I think the best coaches are the ones who have the best emotional intelligence.
Mm. So, if I understand correctly, people who are empaths, highly sensitive people, they would especially benefit from emotional intelligence training
Yeah,
to protect themselves from
yeah,
triggers and the increasingly complex and sophisticated problems that our clients are presenting that could
yeah.
impact our own emotional state.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is a lot of there is also, the other side of, or the other extreme of being empathetic, where you forget about your own needs.
Yeah,
And we call that the pleaser pattern in the positive intelligence,
yeah. I was thinking
in the realm of
martyr,
positive
but
intelligence. Yeah, yeah. So sometimes we get into that pleaser mode where, the survival brain actually says that pleasing other people will help you get more love and acceptance and whatever. And so you
Mm,
get into that while forgetting about your own needs. And that
mm,
also often leads to burnout and things like that, because you forget about your own needs. You're all the time pleasing other people, but not taking care of your own needs. So
yeah,
all of this requires that balance.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, I love spending time with you. I always learn so much, Rajiv. Thank you. As I say, I'm conscious of the time. Um, So, what's coming up for you other than launching the Bio Balance, obviously? But what, if anything else, if people are thinking, oh, I really like the sound of Rajiv's mythology and philosophy and I want to work with him, what's coming up that you'd like them to know about?
Uh, I am actually looking at expanding all the businesses that we are into right now. So the business strategy consulting is really useful if you have a small business, especially if it is a growing business and you are struggling with the growth, finding growth opportunities, especially in markets like UK, etc. Everybody's struggling with growth right now. And
Mm,
so working together can actually help a business owner find ways in which they can grow their business. And a lot of times, I know that a lot of your listeners are coaches. A lot of times, you may be a brilliant coach, but you don't think about your coaching as a business. And
mm,
that's what actually affects a lot of people who are coaches. They are not able to grow their business because they don't think about the coaching as a business. And you
mm,
need to actually think about it as a business as well. You may be a fantastic coach, but you also need to have a strategy. You need to have some marketing to get people to be aware about your what you have to offer and the gift you have to give them, and so on and so forth. You need to think about how are you going to create your next leads? How are you going to have a pipeline, and so on and so forth. So making that small shift really helps people uh, grow their business. So always, in 2025, looking at how I can reach out and help more small businesses grow, because that's very, very important for our overall economy and the community to grow. Positive intelligence, which we spoke about a lot during this session. It's something which I'm really, really passionate about. I hope the passion came out in our
and the
conversations.
energy.
And I would love to engage with anyone who's looking to build their positive intelligence, build their emotional intelligence as a client or as a coach,
Hmm.
because coaches also need coaches. And so, if anyone actually needs assistance there, always happy to engage.
Right.
And biobalance, as you said, it's a baby which is getting born in the next quarter, in this quarter. So looking forward to all your love and support, and I'll be sure to send you more information, maybe some samples, etc. Dawn, especially for you, some samples for you to try and give us feedback.
Yeah, thank you very much. And soon you're going to be registered on the international directory, so people can find you on the
Yeah,
IAPC&M directory. So I don't know where you are at your accreditation stage, but good luck with that. I know you have good conversations with David, and
yeah,
I'm sure as we come up to Christmas, you'll have even more good wintry, Christmassy type conversations. He loves talking about this time of year. So everybody, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Gillian to make sure that our conversation is posted in our private groups as well, so our existing coaches can hear this, because even though I've been in sales and marketing for 3 decades, I've learned so much from the Alpha Group of drilling down on the strategy. It's not just a case of, oh, my marketing plan's going to do this, I'm going to produce this, do that. It's actually really planning it and having an implementation plan. There's lots of different elements to a strategy. So you've really challenged me. So thank you for that, Rajiv. I look forward to many more sessions in 2025 and helping to grow this wonderful supportive community that you've built in any way I can. So thank you very
super.
much. I will let you get back to the family and stay safe. I know you're under constant threat, no more so than today when there's an alert. But yeah, take great care, and I will speak to you again soon. And thank you, everybody. I will see you again next week with another fascinating guest. If you've got any questions for Rajiv, you can always use the IAPC&M contact page. I will make sure he gets your question. And you can drop your questions into any of the chat boxes, and Gillian, our VA, will make sure they reach Rajiv. If you've thought afterwards, oh, I wish I'd asked that question, or I wonder what if. Okay, so we've covered quite a broad
Thank
range
you.
of things, from health, supplements, to mentoring, to emotional intelligence. So there's a lot to unpack there. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it, Rajiv.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Don, for inviting me.
Thank
It
you.
was a pleasure, as always, talking to you. And I look forward to also connecting with people on LinkedIn. So please also, in addition to sending your questions through Dawn, look forward to connecting on LinkedIn. That's another great community to stay connected on.
Absolutely.